but I don't want to. Let's pull this off to the side for a second, because actually I just want to talk for a minute. I want to talk about just CRM and why CRM before we focus on it exactly. Like I said, I really am not a PowerPoint kind of person. I am I'm all about the demo. But I think it is good to talk about very quickly is why should you use a CRM? Most of you have been here because you want to know more about the accounting packages or the finance suite of Zoho, and you may be wondering why CRM, and I get that a lot. So let's talk about first. CRM stands for Customer Relationship Manager, and it's a software that you use, or salespeople or companies use to keep track of their clients and prospects. And so one of the very common questions that I get is, why would I want a CRM? Because I have all my contacts in Outlook, or I have all my contacts in QuickBooks, or whatever program you're using for accounting system. And it's a valid question, and I understand it. But that was only a valid question for years and years ago. Now, because we're such an integrated workforce, it is so much better to have a central system where we can keep everything in one place for the entire company to use. For instance, there typically in a sales process, we'll start with leads, and I certainly don't want to put leads in the accounting system. Most accountants would like shrink in horror to think about all the kinds of accounts or contacts could be in the system that are totally not relevant and will never sell anything to. The second reason is because of sharing stuff. I remember when we first started out, and when I was getting used to being in a CRM and why I would use a CRM, I had an assistant or person in our company, and the client would say, well, Ginger said to me this. And I would say, Ginger said what? But the idea was, she was excellent at putting in notes about what she said. And that made me excellent in return about putting in notes. So we could always put in what we said to the client, so that the next person who actually talked to that client was kind of up to date on what was said and what was going on. It's really an awesome way to keep track of your clients and prospects, and like who should use it. I know, I think Tala asked me this one of the previous sessions that we were on, who should use it? And he said, should it be this kind of company or this kind of company? And the answer is yes. I think anybody can use a CRM. I think it's keeping the names and addresses and email addresses and information about your clients and prospects is the most important thing you can have. I think it's more important than your team, your property. Let's say you have property or equipment or whatever. If you lose the way to contact your clients and your prospects or to market to them, you have to start all over with that. You have lost a lot of stuff. So keeping track of your clients and prospects is super, super important. So let's look at it. I don't want to go
Hey,
any more than that. Yeah.
Before you kind of dive deep into CRM, I'm going to launch the first poll question. Sorry to jump in here.
No worries. It's a good time.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I could see how important it would be to have a CRM system, definitely for businesses who have never done it. And my dad actually used to have one of those. I don't even know what they're called because I don't even have one, but it's where you put all your cards. You have all your contact information in there.
And then for a lot of years, a lot of people use those paper Franklins, Franklin Day Planner, and they keep their opportunities in there. That was a big tracking source until we went electronic. So think of this also as an opportunity tracker. You can even jot down different opportunities and things and keep them in a CRM and chase them later and then tie people to it. And as Susan's going to show you, the way the data is tied together in the CRM is very unique. You've got the ability when somebody leaves one company and goes to another to move them in a way that in your regular, if you're trying to do this in receivables, which is where we used to try to do some of this stuff, and we'd make a giant mess, as Susan alluded to, in the receivable system. Here we can keep it separate, and as we move stuff around and do stuff, it's just such a well thought out idea, if you will, in technology that I think you're going to really like what you see.
All right, well, awesome, Susan. You're good to go.
Okay, good.
Appreciate your patience.
So, like I said, I'm about the demo, and I'm actually about the demo that I use. I'm all about eating my own dog food, so to speak. You have to, if you're not using what you want other people to use, and I don't think you know it well. So I'll demo my live database. In addition, I will demo how it works with books and a little bit about our books. If you like, we'll also talk about inventory. Well, I'm talking about inventory whether you like or not. I will talk about how a sales rep can create a sales order and it can be tracked through, has it been shipped, has it been packed, has it been sent, anything like that. If you like, we can also look at Zoho subscriptions. And I think Zoho Expense was down the other day. I can show you a really, really quick idea of that. In addition, we will also be going over how you can look at Zoho on your phone. So I'll go over that near the end of the session. So the idea, of course, in my opinion, everything should start with the CRM. Now I know a lot of you will think, well, everything starts with the books. And regardless of where you start, Zoho provides an environment where you can link everything together and they can all talk to each other. That's one of the great things about the Zoho One or the Zoho system, where everything can talk to everything else. So I'm going to look up, just for grins, I see that today I'm going to review a proposal with Lance today at 1. So Lance, I will tell you, is my fake person. I have a lot of fake things in my database so that I can demo without having too much trouble. So I'm going to, since I know I have to talk with Lance, I'm just going to click on Lance's name right here, and it will take him to his record in my system so that I can see more about Lance before we talk to him. One of the great things is that I can look at, as I said, I can look at the previous notes that were there as soon as my system finishes refreshing. There we go. I can look at the previous notes that were there. I can see fields. I'm just going to scroll for just a second. You can see the basics of Lance, who he is, what his phone number is, what company he works for, just real basics. But I can go over here and click on this section at the left and go to notes, and I can see notes that we've entered. I can see that Fariel completed a workflow for him, and Christina did a billing update, and he reported to me that there was a billing fix. You can have unlimited notes. I can view previous. I can look at different things that different people in the team has actually conversations that they've had with Lance. So I can always be up to date very quickly just by looking at it. One of the nice things about CRM is that regardless of your email system, you can link them into the contacts. So I can see, this was an email that was sent on the 24th. I can look at all of the different emails and see who sent them, and to a certain extent, even if he opened them, what happened to what was the status of the email. So, which is really nice. And if you set it up correctly, all your other team members can also see those emails if they want to see what the conversation threads have been. I can see I have open activities. I already showed you that at the beginning. I have to review the proposal with Lance at lunchtime, and then I'm going to follow up with the proposal. I've had meetings in the past that we've had. So if I want to, that's actually really probably one of the bigger benefits too, is closed activities. Open activities are things that I have not completed yet. They're things that are coming up. Closed activities are things that I've already had. So one of the things that I think is really great is if I want to know when was the last time I met with Lance, or when was the last time anybody on my team met with Lance, or if somebody had a call with him or somebody had a task with him, I can always look here. And if you are depending on Outlook or depending on something like your financial package like QuickBooks, you can't do that. I could in Outlook, but I'd have to go back and sift back through a lot of data to find when was the last time I actually met with him. So it's the ability to kind of really keep track of when was the last time I actually saw this person in the database. I can see deals or opportunities, depending on what your company wants to call them. We call them deals. I can see deals that are actually in process, or I can see we closed, lost that one. We closed, won that one. You can see different things. You can always see the status. And again, not only for me to see the status, but for my team members can see. For instance, particularly if this was a company that that covered all of the United States. So maybe the West Coast team would need to see that there was something going on in California, and the East Coast team would need to see something that's being proposed, say, for New York. So that's actually handy, so that they can actually you are kind of cross-selling, but you each know what the other team member is saying. So there's lots of things, but in particular, this is what I want to show you is the Zoho Finance. The ability to integrate Zoho Finance Suite with any contact in your database is awesome. So when I click this, basically what it's doing is it's showing me a window into the Zoho books. I can see estimates. I can see sales orders that are open. I can see invoices that have been generated, overdue, sent, some that are voided. I can see a lot of things about the status of this client. I'm going to scroll back up for a second because also at the top, once you integrate Zoho Books with CRM, it adds this little panel right here at the top of everyone's record so that at any given time, a sales rep can come right here to receivables and payables and click this link here. And I can see that his the total sales that we have to him are this, and I can see he hasn't paid any of it. So I know exactly that he owes us this. So this is a small amount, but again, this is a fake person. But if there was a fairly large receivable, it would be easy for the sales rep to know this is somebody, perhaps we need to talk with accounting or we need to be careful about selling anything more to this person. The unused credits is for if somebody has a retainer for you and they've given you money and then you're drawing down on the retainer. So he has not given us extra money, so he has no unused credits. But in addition, let me look at these first two items. If you also put in something like inventory, you can see how many items has he ordered. Let me just pull this down. So I can see he's actually, there have been 13 things that have been invoiced to him. We've shipped 6 and there's still 5 waiting to be packed. So that's great because when somebody goes, can we find out about, can you tell me the status of my orders? This gives you a quick overview. If I want to know an exact overview, I'm going to go over here and click on finance and go down to see exactly where it's going on. But I can also look at this one. There's some shipments in progress. There was this shipment, it's packaged, there's a quantity of 2 that's coming his way. So at least I know that. But this is a really nice kind of high level overview of what the status of the account is. So I'm going to go back down here. Oh, wait, let me see how much does he owe us. 402.43. Okay. So I'm just going to go back over here and click Zoho Finance. So one of the nice things, and I just see the question over here, is that notice that when I'm looking at this, not only can I look at these, but I can create a new estimate. So if I click on this little button, basically it's what it's doing right now. It says loading, but it's actually creating this estimate inside of Zoho Books so that as soon as I click the save at the bottom of the screen, it will instantly be available in Books and actually it'll be available in inventory as well because they're just so tightly integrated. Notice that you can see it's standard stuff. You can put in a reference number. If you have an expiration date, you can put it in. If you want to link it to a specific project, you can or can't, depending on what you want. If this customer has a specific price list, that they get that because they're a distributor or something like that, you can. I can pull up, these are my items or products, as the case may be. If I just want to sell him a Zoho quick study guide, a book, something like that, I can pop that in. And I don't know the shipping charges yet. So what I can do is I can say, send this to Lance, and I can click save. By clicking save, that puts it in draft mode. And then somebody else can go and look at it. Somebody in accounting or inventory or someplace can go and add a shipping charge or an estimated shipping charge if they need to. But typically on estimates, they don't do that. And usually save and send is fine. I will say that you do have the ability to create security for all of the users so that, let's say, a sales rep may be able to see these things, but they can't create them. Or maybe they can create them and put them in draft mode, but they can't send them. There's a lot of ways to restrict or enable what a rep can do. I'm going to go ahead and cancel out of this, though, for right now. So I can easily pull that up go back here for really quickly. Maybe not so quickly. Here we go. I can easily look at that, but I can create, in addition to an estimate, I can create a sales order. That's actually what I want to create instead, because I want to show you that a sales order, by definition, will say he's going to approve it, and I want to be able to see how that appears in sales orders and in books. So I'm going to create a sales order. In the sales order, I'm going to do it very quickly. I could associate it with a deal or an opportunity if I wanted to. I'm not going to do anything in particular here. I'm just going to, let me go ahead and type in the name of the book. And let's say he wants 2 of those. Notice, by the way, I'm going to say, let's say he wants 5 of them. Notice that it says in this warehouse, even as a sales rep, I can see in this warehouse, there's 25 available. So I've got plenty of stock, but it would tell me if there wasn't enough in stock. So that's kind of handy. I'm just going to say, this looks good. I'm going to save and send to Lance. I can show you what that looks like. I don't know if you've been able to see that in the CRM, but basically it's going to sending it from our office manager and sending it to Lance. And there's a standard, blah, blah, blah. Here's how much it costs. There'll be a link in here where they can open it up and confirm it, or they can also just click on this and download and print the copy if they want to. But right now, that was sales order 64. So I'm just going to go over here to, let's go back to all sales orders. I'm in inventory right now. So notice that immediately there's the sales order that came in as confirmed. So I can see that sales order. So now the sales rep has put that into books, and somebody in the warehouse or somewhere will get, you can make them if you want them, make them notified, but I can just click on this sales order and I can see something about it. I can see that he needs 5. I can see more about it. If I want to, I can say create a pick list, I can create a package, or I can create a shipment. So here, they've probably already talked to you about it. I have to create a package because what I want to do is say, how many are you shipping? So he's ordered 5. I'm going to go ahead and ship all 5. It could be I can only ship 3. So there's an option here, but I'm just creating a package and saying save. Okay, so there's 5 that are ready to be shipped. I want to go back. The reason I'm doing that is because I want to go back to CRM and go back to Lance's record. And up here at the top, there is, remember before we had so many items in that were waiting. Come on, there we go. I may need to refresh. But there will be where we'll be able to see that it's there. He has an additional 5 items to be packed that have been packed, and they'll be waiting for shipment. So at any given time when you're looking up a client, you should always be able to look up at the top and see what the status of their order is.
Hey, Susan, I'm going to go and launch the second poll question.
Perfect.
And yeah, so it's just basically asking, have you ever used Zoho CRM before?
And
this
Susan,
gives...
Sorry.
Go for it, Paul.
I just wanted to let Susan know that we've answered quite a few questions in the questions panel, but there's a few that I wanted to just throw at you.
Sure, go for it.
Sure. Okay. So one question is that if, let's say we have the Zoho Books and Zoho CRM integration set up, which I know you're going to go into, as far as email notifications go, if let's say an email or an invoice is past due, would I set up that email notification from CRM or would I do it from Books?
Oh, definitely Books.
Okay.
You don't want your salespeople notifying the clients about past due invoices. That all should be handled by your accounting team. And so one of the great ways, I could just go in here very quickly.
Susan, can I add to that?
Sure.
Just quickly, folks, what she just mentioned is a very, very important concept in business. You want your salespeople to always be the good guys.
Yeah.
Even if you're a two-person shop, you've got to separate the sell side from the collection side of receivables. That's a big no-no to cross that line. So, sorry, keep going.
That's okay. Thanks. You're right. I mean, I hated as a consultant, I hated talking to clients about money.
Right.
That was the reason I had a bookkeeper or an office manager.
Somebody else, right?
Yeah,
Right.
somebody else, so that we could separate the two from a customer service standpoint. But you can see I have reminders enabled. This was like an awesome thing to learn, is that you can set up how many days you want. Some people remind like day after it's due, but you can set up reminders and put in whatever you want to. And this is like, I put in a reminder, hey, we're sending you to collections. It's, way too long, but you can turn them off. If you want to do the manual reminders, you can, and you can certainly send one on demand. But, and also having that, you can also pop up this one right here. Let's say this is an invoice that's overdue. I can see it. Maybe I'm talking to Lance. He goes, I know there's an invoice out there and I can't find it. Can you please resend it to me? All the rep has to do is click on it and click send mail, and it'll immediately send him that invoice again, which is pretty darn nice. I've done that before. I've actually done it from my phone as well. I'm glad to show anybody that they want to, where I was at a client's office one time and said they hadn't received it. And I said, well, hold on just a minute. Let me just pull that up. And I pulled it up and said, send. And I could hear the ding of his Outlook as the invoice came into his inbox.
Fantastic. So we have another question that's kind of, I think, similar to what you and Val were mentioning, but in a moment, could you speak a little bit to like using a CRM system as a one-man shop, a one-woman shop? And I was thinking one of the things that CRM can help is actually giving the appearance of a larger organization, right? Because if you have like those email notifications going out, they don't have to be signed by that one person, right? They can be just the company or
company
bookkeeping team.
Yeah, whether it's appearance or not, it just helps you expand on how you can interact and have a relationship with your client. You can automate so many things in our system, like when we send a proposal, or even when we, let's say, close a deal, we have set up workflows. Let me show you what we can do with workflows. I'm just going to click on this, and workflows are ways that you can automate things. And I mean, we are, this is what we do for a living. So we have a ton of workflows, but I can say, if I want to go to proposals, which is one of our modules, I can do proposal follow-up. So this basically does a series of 5 emails that will automatically follow up any proposal that's sent. So that until then, if they come back and say, we want the proposal, then the email stop after, let's say, email 3 or whatever. But that's the worst thing, is to spend all that time creating a proposal, which nobody likes to do. They're time consuming to create proposals, to spend all that time and then just move on to the next thing. And that's very common for sales reps. Well, for a lot of people, they'll spend the time and then they'll forget to follow up. And then all that time is kind of not really wasted, but it's kind of wasted. So this helps to keep track. Basically I just say, as long as what option they selected is empty, go ahead, and here's this one's 2 hours after. That's like, hey, did we include everything that in the proposal that you were looking for? It's just kind of a real quick. They don't have to be fancy. They're not. In fact, they are very not fancy. I don't have any graphics in them. They're just very conversational and everything. So it's just, the workflow is awesome. Particularly for a single person office, the ability to do all this stuff and really not to do it, because the system is handling it for you, is key.
Yeah, and it really takes a lot of time for you to kind of just grow your business too, and not focus on the task of keeping track of clients and everything.
Right.
And Susan, if you have just one moment, I have one last question that kind of answers. It's like 3 birds with 1 stone. So when you're talking about proposals in CRM and then estimates in books, could you give us your opinion on like which do you use, why should you use them, and then specifically somebody, yeah.
Yeah, I see that question. That's a really great question, because I could use estimates, but we are primarily services organization. I think of quotes or estimates as being more of a widget. I mean, I sold this item or this piece of equipment or whatever. And a lot of our things are what I would say service-based. So because we have so many options that a person could want, let me create a proposal here. We have a system so that we kind of go, what do you want? Do you want to migrate your data? Do you want to add workflows? Do you want to set up the email? Do you want to set up campaigns? Do you want to set up books? I mean, you can see all the different options. And once we put all those options in, we have calculations at the top of the screen that will calculate how much is the estimate that this will be for. So it's our product is just kind of too complicated, I think, to do quotes or estimates. But if it just depends on your business, and you have to decide what works best for you. And then somebody asked, what is the score at the top of the screen? There's a 15, that's a 15 score. Scores, you control how scores are created, but scores are created on whether they called you, whether you missed a call, whether you have a call coming in. Say, I'm going to miss that call. So whether you're, whether they answered an email, whether there's lots of different things, and you can control how that score is created. Even in particular, did they visit your website? We've included Zoho Sign in our integration. So that's what is, how many people are on your website? Did they visit your website? Which is also a great thing. I'm just going to draw your vision down to this bottom thing. Here you see this little icon down here, and it says visitors online, and there's 16. Right now, I have 16 people on our website. So that if we have a team member that goes in and answers some of these chats, but I'm assuming a lot of these people are from here. And if you want to engage that person, or the sales rep wants to engage the person, they can click on these little chat bubbles and engage them. So I can see the times that actually that Lance has been on my site, and how much time did he spend on the site, and what page was he on when he's on the site. So all of those things contribute to defining what your score could be. You want to set up scores, it's one of those things you have to go into settings and go click scores. You can find it. Yes, the proposal was created with the custom module because it helped us. It took us from creating. That's the thing that you can do. When Zoho comes to you, when CRM comes to you, it's a very generic name, address, phone number, which everybody can use. But what you want to do is you want to create a system that reinforces your practices, your systems. If as an owner, I want my team to follow up on the proposals that we send, then I created that workflow to help them do that. For us, it was important to have, we used to take like an hour and a half to 2 hours to create each proposal, kind of going through all of the elements and what would it take and what was involved. It was so painful. So that basically when we create this, when we go through and do all those check marks on this custom module that we created, we can now create a proposal in 30 minutes or less. So it was huge. It took us a little bit to set it up, but it was a huge thing to do. Go back and look to see what we've missed. When we changed to books about in 2015. We changed from QuickBooks. I won't lie, it was hard. Change is hard, but it doesn't make any difference. Any change is hard. I actually think Zoho Books I can't recommend it enough. It has really made a huge difference in how we run our business, because it is so easy for us to see the financials part. I mean, you can let the sales rep see certain things, but you can screen them. They can't see the bank balance. They can't see how much things cost. You're just giving them a high level overview. But it was different. You certainly can use something like Zapier to integrate things like QuickBooks, but it's not going to pull over all this detail of information. It's going to help you like, okay, let's create this contact in Books so that the names will be the same. Well, that's great. But even in the integration with CRM and Books, it's just automatic. If you, under certain, you set the conditions under specific conditions, as soon as that record is created, it goes over to Books. So I think also it's also important to note that it's a two-way integration. I think you probably saw that. What I can create something here and it goes over to books. But also if you set it up the way you want to, if you want to allow your sales team, they can edit the name and address. If I go to the company, which is primarily where you're going to bill from, if I just click on the name of the company and I look at their name and address and where they are, if I can set it so that if I change this, it will also change it in books. And also if books changes something from a billing standpoint, it comes back over to CRM. So that two-way sync integration is pretty awesome. And it'll sync customers and accounts and contacts and vendors. If you want to do the whole thing, I mean, I've got vendors, which is the vendors in books will integrate with over here. So if I want to, I can raise a purchase order from here if I want to. Let's see, let me ask some of the questions here. What were your books integration security concerns? I really didn't. I mean, when you go into books, there's a section in there on roles and profiles, and you can determine what they can see and what they can do. And you just go through each of the settings and you determine what you want the teams to do. Even if I don't want to, each app in Zoho has the ability to control who can see it. So I can have 20 users in CRM and 5 users in books if I want to. And so I can only give certain people rights. So you control a lot of the securities. To set that up, somebody asked about syncing. I'm just going to go into books. These are my books. I'm going to go back. Well, I would go into setup over here, this little widget right there. And I'm going to go down to integrations. And there's lots of different integrations. There's shipping integrations. You've probably already seen all this, but I'm going down to Zoho Apps because I want to see how it integrates with other things. And you can see you can integrate books with CRM and projects and people and sign. I mean, all these different apps you can integrate, which is super cool. But I'm going to come back up because I want to talk about the CRM integration. And you'll just set it up. I think all mine, if I had a, let's see, I don't think I have one. All of mine are already set up. Here's one that's not really set up. So I could connect it. If anytime you see a connect, that's where it hasn't been set up exactly yet. But in this case, I can show the details. So you'll just say connect, and you'll put in certain credentials. And then here's my setup. Now, in my case, we do a lot with accounts and contacts. But I could have set up, if you are just a consumer company, you could set up to only sync contacts without the account name. And that's just strictly up to you. But if I want to edit the sync setup, you can see I can do both. I prefer to sync both ways. You can make it one way if you want to. I can also how to handle duplicates. The default is to clone. I always change it to overwrite because I don't want clones. I don't want duplicates and stuff. So it's like if somebody knows something and they're going to update it, I want everybody to know it and to update stuff. Then you just kind of select the views to be synced. I've got a view so that I don't sync. I've been doing this for a long time, so I have way too many accounts that I would never want in books and leads and stuff. So I only, I have a view called sync to books that has criteria in it. And that's what comes over. So here you just map all your names. I mean, all the different fields. We have a custom field every now and then that we put in. You can see, you just kind of fill it in. You fill it in for accounts and then for contacts. I'm going to cancel out because I don't want to do that. Then you go down to vendors. If you don't have to sync vendors, but I like syncing vendors so that I can see the people that we're buying from. And I also go ahead and sync products. So whatever items I've created in books will show up in CRM. You don't really have to do that. I think it just is handy to be able to look at that kind of information. And then basically it just shows here, I can disable the modules. I didn't because I demo a lot, but CRM comes with some built-in quote, sales order, invoice modules, and that could be used, but you couldn't collect money. It wasn't really live with an accounting system. So you actually want to disable those and make sure that the sales team is not putting stuff in the wrong area. So I enabled all of that. And then down here, this one is, I don't know anybody that's done this one, but it's actually kind of cool. You can set it so that when you reach a certain stage, let's say in a deal, uh, it would automatically create an estimate or it automatically create an invoice. And I probably am too much of a control freak to let something that automatic. So, but you could, it'd be very easy to automate it if you wanted to, just an automatic creation of something. So I don't know if that helps a little bit. Somebody asked, how do you do an estimate for a lead? You know, you convert the lead to a contact, and that would be my guess. A lot of that has to do. Let me come back to CRM. There's in the world that I came from, there was originally there was only contacts and accounts. There was no concept of leads. So because of that, and that's been that way for a long time, but I don't know when they started using the concept of leads. Leads were people that were, you know, they are people that came into your system. Usually in our case, the leads came into the system because they filled out a form on our website or whatever. And so there's a constant discussion, I think, among a lot of people, and there is no right answer, is when do you convert a lead to a contact? And the answer is it's up to your company. Um, every company has their own. You just should have your own practices of what to do. So you decide. Some people say, as soon as I've had a conversation, as soon as I've actually verbally spoken with them, they're converted. I've made a contact with them. Some people are like, I don't convert them until I have to send them something. If I have to work, send them a quote, send them an S1. If I have to do any work to convert that, then I convert it. So technically, you can't. If I were to pull up, let's say Steve Jobs, you can tell these are my fake people. If I were to pull up Steve, then I could, you can see that quotes is not an option, and nor is finance an option over here. So the idea, and nor is deals. You can't create an opportunity for a lead. So always you just want to go ahead and convert them. Once you're spending any time, I think you need to go ahead and convert them into a contact, somebody that you're really working with. I'm actually we're kind of low on time. So what I want to do is I want to just bring over very quickly what it looks like in the mobile app. All of Zoho has apps have mobile apps, and they're free. They come along with your software. So I can look at, here's Zoho CRM. You can see I also have Zoho Books. I have a ton of apps. I can do expense or inventory or whichever. But basically what I want to do is look at CRM to see what it looks like. When you open it, I can look at different things that are here on the system. If I want to say, look at Lance, it's very easy. To me, this is like a great benefit. If you've got any road warriors or people that work a lot from home, the mobile apps are really great because they work offline. So even if you don't have an internet connection or you don't have wireless, or I work a lot in the medical center, and so in there they have no internet or wireless connections once you're inside. I can still come in here and open things. I can actually make a phone call. Can't make a phone call, but if I were out, I could make a phone call. I could map to their location. It'll look up where they are as far as that address is that I have in CRM, and it'll tell me how to get there from wherever I am right now. I can email them. You notice all the notes that were there before are still there. If I want to add a note, just show you very quickly, I'm going to click on this and click here to add. You can, if you, instead of using the fat finger method down here, you can use this little icon, this microphone here. This is a test to show you how you can enter notes into Zoho. And then you can save it. And so that'll be on, when I go back in and I go look up Lance's record, you can see it's right here just now. But when I go in and look at his record, that note will automatically immediately be in there. If I don't have an internet connection, then the next time I come to a place where I can have an internet connection. Now, the only thing is I can't see, I can see, let me go back to Lance here. Well, I can see his information here, and I can see the emails that we've exchanged back and forth. I cannot see how much money he owes me here. That actually the integration on the app level is not integrated with books, but I can go over to books at any given time and check on that. So let me just go back to home screen, and I can pull up books, and I can look up Lance there, and even the sales order that we just created will be there if I need to. So I could create a bill, do some things right here, but I can strictly go straight to the sales orders that I just created, and I'll be able to see there was the invoice I created just a few seconds ago online. In addition, just FYI, I can see on my little reminder bar up here, if I pull that down, let me see if I can do this. I have to do it over here. There we go. I got $135 while we were talking. So I got a notification that that much was added to our system, so which is kind of cool.
Hey, Susan, real quick.
Yeah.
So you kind of mentioned this earlier, and there was a question about this too. So phone bridges or telephony, what's your opinion on those? Like, why do it? Is it worth it?
Oh yeah. Did you see that? I don't know. Unfortunately, that call came up while we were on the line, but because I've forgotten to put my phone on Do Not Disturb. But definitely, because I can, if I wanted to, let's go look up Tala. So I'm going to look up Tala because I have to call him and see what's going on.
Tala.
So I've got, does Tala owe me any money? Wait a second. Should I call him or not? Oh, good. He doesn't owe me any money. But see, I can, if I want to, I can call here, or I can call, I shouldn't do that. That's your cell phone. I should scroll up. I could click on one of those buttons and it would call your phone number, or I could call now here, or I could send an email from here. So definitely. And in addition, there is a, if I missed a call, so if I go here to activities, and there is a view called missed calls, I can see what calls have come in that I missed. So I need to, call people back. Sometimes, let's see. Anyway, you get the idea. But yeah, there we go. So I can see these people have done calls. I need to call them back or not. There was the Jerry that came in a few minutes ago. So yeah, I'm a big fan. I think most of the integrations are fine. I don't have any. I've tried several. We're currently using Ring Central, but we've used Ringio. We've used the one that's Log Me a Jive, and I kind of tend to switch around every couple of years just so I can have personal experience. We can recommend to clients, what works well and what doesn't. But to be honest, they've all worked pretty much the same.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
And there's a couple other questions if you want to.
I was going to say, can you create a workflow that change the contact category? You can create workflows to change anything, to be honest.
Yeah.
We definitely have one. When we have, like, when we win a deal, it goes back to all associated contacts and accounts and changes them to clients, because you're right. Sales reps never remember to go back and change that. It's just not in their nature. They're on to the next deal. So as a business owner, I want to keep those stats very clear. And so it's easy to do that. Does a field exist? I mean, yes, if the field doesn't exist, but I will tell you that it does. But if the field doesn't exist, you can create it. It's so easy to create fields. It's not like rocket science stuff. So if I go look at this Kevin here, who's actually really a person, but if I go look at his, and there should be a lead status. In this case, it says not contacted. So it's a way particularly that we use that for, like, if I've imported a list, I want to know, I'm working a list, I want to know who I've contacted. Well, I've only been able to email them, or my NWP means not worth pursuing. You can have however you want to put in. You can put whatever the drop downs are that you want to. So the duplicating accounts and contacts is actually really, it's a deal. So when I convert, do I know, is this his company name or whatever? So I'm going to take this. Sometimes what I will do when you're putting in a new company, a fairly recent thing is, if you start to type, there we go. and you just give it a second, basically what it's doing is it's looking in. See, I've got him in here at least twice, so he's already duplicated. But it's looking for in the accounts module. So I'm going to select this so that when he gets converted, I know that it'll be handled. It's a little bit of an extra step, but it's actually a pretty nice way to make sure that you're not going to duplicate the account when it gets converted. How do you handle updating the contact type if the client canceled? I don't really know how they would cancel. I mean, I guess if you end up losing the deal or losing the proposal, whatever, the workflow should work both ways. So that if you win it, it says client, and then if something happens and you go back and say, oh, never mind, I lost it. So you can have it so it lost, it can change it, the status to whatever you want to. That's the great thing about workflows. They're pretty much infinite. You can do pretty much anything you want to make it work. Okay, so there's somebody says they can see invoices in both places. That was back in the setup. It said, do you want to disable the other apps? And I would say definitely go back and do that, or you can manually do it by going through tools and modules, and you could just hide the apps. You don't want the regular invoice or sales order or quote. You want to only be able to see this Zoho Finance. Oops, I'm in, whereas I can't see it. You only want to be able to see that. There's lots of ways you can hide it. I mean, if you need to, just like give us a shout, and I can tell you how to hide it. But I definitely go back into the setup and say disable. No, that's pretty much. I think that's everything. I did give Tala 2 cheat sheets to work with. There should be one on CRM, and we're big on documentation. I've always, because I'm a writer. If you know, I don't know if you can see, got my book. I do books all the time on how to do stuff. So I have books for different things. So the first thing I do is create what I call cheat sheets or reference cards. So you should, in the handouts, have this one, which basically says, for an end user, how do you create a payment? How do you create an expense? And there should be one for CRM as well. If not, I'm sure Tala put it there. But how do you do these things? How do you log in? How do you use a list view? How do you do activities? All of those kinds of things. But they're there. And I'm glad for you to use them. They're great PDFs that can help you with your business. And
Susan, we're actually going to share those with everyone in the follow-up email at the end. So we're going to include all the resources. It's going to be a really fat email that has the recordings as well.
Can you send a retainer invoice for that's a really good one, Daniel. The one of the few things that you can't do from the CRM side is I can't create a retainer invoice. I wish I could, but however, you can go look that person up in books. If I come back in here to look up Yellow Jersey, and I go look at Lance, I can create a retainer invoice for here, which we do a lot. So, but I don't, and we probably could automate that from an approved estimate. I've never done it, but I'm pretty sure it's possible. I don't know anything, just to tell you kind of what we do. Cornerstone is what we do is help people set up and kind of help them to take how they do their business and then to customize Zoho or Zoho One or all of the products to make it support you. We are not accountants. I can help you learn how to use books. I cannot recommend to you how to set it up, or the best I can do is recommend an accountant to you. But we kind of really focus on setting it up and making sure people know how to use what they've got when they've got it.
And Susan, I'd like to put your contact information back up on the screen if it's okay with you.
Fine. Just kidding.
Well, she didn't see you, Tala, so.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, let's put her cell phone up there, right, Tala?
Yeah, no, I'm sorry about that.
I'm putting up addresses. I'm putting.
Her favorite restaurant, everything.
Let's see.
I forgot to show my
here.
Zoho belt buckle in my watch.
Oh no.
You have a Taco Bell buckle? Is that what you said?
I have
Zoho belt
I have a
buckle.
Zoho
I
belt
thought you
buckle.
said Taco Bell.
She's got a Zoho watch, a Zoho belt buckle. So here's Susan's contact information up on the screen. And I actually just created this quick poll just to make this really easy. Go ahead and answer that for us, please. If you would like additional help, we'll share your name with Susan, and that way she can reach out to you. Susan is a fantastic resource. I can't recommend her enough. One of the great things about having a Zoho One expert is that you'll get information on the entire suite, which is really helpful. So, and then also, like Susan mentioned, even though she may not tackle the accounting, you can work with an accountant that will work with Susan. So you can kind of tag team it. And we actually are going to have an accountant join us for the next session, which is actually underway. So Susan, we actually got quite a few folks who would like to be contacted by you. So I'm going to share the list of those individuals with you. And if you need Susan's email, it's right there on the screen. And please call her all the time, because now you guys all have my number too. That's
Susan,
okay.
there was one last question I just want to bring back up here quick, and I think it relates to it's going to involve some customization or an automated function. But this person's asking about automatically converting like 300 leads, and I think you're going to need some custom work for that if that can be done, right?
Well, if for automatic, yes, it would be custom work. But there is a mass update if you go into leads and you select, the leads that you want in the list view. Under actions, there should be a mass convert. So it's just possible.
Thank you.
Perfect.
That was one that kind of bounced around there a little bit. So we do our best, folks, to try to answer every question. Susan, thank you so much.
Thanks so much for being here, Susan. We really appreciate it. A round of applause for Susan.
No Thanks.
Really well done.
And we'll see you soon.
All right, sounds good. And you guys are going to love the reports. I adore advanced analytics. It helps you so much in analyzing your business. So.
Oh yeah.
Yes, thank you. Stick around if you want to catch that.
Yeah, you can join in and chime in.
All right. So moving on to our next session, since we've already got kind of moved into that time a little bit, and I want to make sure you get your full break after this next session, we're going to be introducing our next speaker. So this next session is actually a panel discussion. It's going to be really free-flowing. I've put up a few questions to kind of help guide the discussion, but for the most part, I'm going to take questions from the audience to help move this along. So the topic of our panel is, how do you get more out of your accountant relationship where you can move beyond bookkeeping? And what we mean by that is actually being able to utilize the rest of the Zoho suite. You might have third-party applications outside of Zoho, and an accountant is a really good resource for small businesses to help expand that initially. Of course, working with a dedicated solutions expert is really helpful, but also starting with your accountant is a great way to do that. So without further ado, I'd like to bring up our featured guest for this session, and then the analytics session that's going to come up after the break in about 25 minutes. Marie-Andre. Marie, are you there? Marie-Andre? Let's see if she can.
Oh, hi. I just opened my mic but
yes,
I'm not sure for the camera. It's all set, but I'm not sure where to activate. Sorry, guys.
No, that's okay. So actually, this session, since we have a couple of different speakers, we won't do the camera, and then on the next session, you'll be able to see Marie-Andre's face in real time. But right now, we've got the bubble on the screen.
No problem.
So Marie-Andre, you have been a Zoho partner for a number of years. You own Cofinia Conseil, which is an accounting and technology firm in Canada. You're based out of Quebec.
Yes.
And could you please just give us an introduction about your firm? You're an accountant. You have a CPA background, but you do a lot more than just accounting.
Yeah, I used to work in a private company, small and a little bit, medium size. And maybe 5 years ago, I wanted to provided console to different small businesses because I was doing always the same in all the companies that was I was moving and doing CFO jobs. So I came across with Zoe really early when founding Cofinia because I was looking to have my own accounting system and a CRM, even though I had like 2 leads at the time and 3 accounts. But I wanted to have best practices really early in my company. And so we do bookkeeping. So this is when I started using Zoho for Cofinia. And then, once I was sure that it was really running smooth, then I wanted to have my clients have the same because I was using for them old system that was not that great. So I implemented each client, and then we did like 50 migration. So that's how it started, and then we start using Zoho projects, Zoho CRM, Zoe Analytics, and we kept on adding some other apps. So we use currently about 16 apps of Zoho, and our team here is 12 people. So we have people that helps with analytics. I'm going to talk to of analytics later on, but I have technical people that are really better than me to customize some reports and things like that. And but we have the accounting background, and what is nice is that since we're doing bookkeeping on a day-to-day basis for about 40 clients, so we have a range view of what we can do with Zoho books. So it's pretty cool.
Thank you so much, Marie-Andre. So we're going to use that background that you have, of course, with accounting, but being able to expand beyond accounting with your clients for this next discussion for the next 20 minutes or so. So I have a few questions for you guys. I'm going to introduce Val and Nathan to kind of come on and chime in as well and jump in when they like to comment. But I'd like to pose this question first to Marie-Andre, which is, when we talk about beyond bookkeeping or having an accountant help you with more than just bookkeeping and accounting, what do you mean by that? Why is that something that a business owner would want to consider? And why is an accountant a good fit for that?
I think the accountant is, and I usually like to make like maybe a warning, because there's some accountants that it's like engineering. For instance, engineering, you have like mechanical engineers and civil engineers, and they do different things, but they both engineers. So accounting is a little bit the same. So you have the people do, day-to-day bookkeeping, and the financial analysts that are, hands-on in the business, and the CFOs that are hands-on. And then you have like auditors and year-end accountants. So what you would like to have is both profile in your team with you to help you analyze the results, all the financial information of your business. So the bookkeeping is great because you have to have reliable information coming into your system, your accounting system. So you make sure that you have this information precise, and then you could have analysis based on those numbers, and then take action upon that. And then your accountant is going to be able to give you insight on, best practices for, enhancing or the growth of your business or funding your business. So I think there's a lot of skills between the accountants, and you have to look at different profiles for different needs.
Got it. So basically you're saying you first handle the basic accounting bookkeeping portion. Then once that information is all set, you're able to then expand the analysis and, using a product like Zoho Analytics, creating custom reports to then present that information to your client, and then they can make better decisions about their business based on that.
Yeah.
Got it. And so Val, I want to bring you up. You come from a very traditional, I think, CPA background originally, and then you've been teaching CPAs for a number of years. How does this shift kind of align with what accountants typically do? So not just CPAs, but bookkeepers. Why would they be interested in moving in this regard? And what do you think of beyond bookkeeping in that case?
Right. most accountants, to be honest with you, they're compliance oriented. So for the most part, what most of them are first interested in is making sure that the business has their tax returns filed, their income statements done, the other financial statements done, things like that. But as the profession has evolved over many years, and especially in this age of electronic financial information systems where we stand now, many accountants have looked at that and said, I can kind of help clients in other areas. I can kind of look at, so, we got all the compliance stuff done, but I noticed this, or I see that. Give you just a small example. I was a young accountant on an audit, and we had a client that I was working on the audit, and we were going down through and looking at the travel expenses for a lot of his salespeople that were out on the road doing things. And our job was to really do the audit of this pension fund that was paying like these travel people going out and do travel. Well, I travel a lot myself at the time, and I know kind of what should be the norm for travel. And I just said to my partner that I was working on with this project, I said, do we want to go to Tom and tell him that his people are kind of taking advantage of him here in a couple of categories? And he was like, well, let's finish up all our work. So we kind of finished up the audit. And then we went the extra mile to say, Tom, we found this. We just want to make you aware of this. We think you ought to change some of your travel policies because they're kind of doing this and this and this. And that ended up being a fairly substantial find. And it was more because we were looking beyond the general ledger. We were looking for things in general business issues that we could help the client with. Now, when it came time to pay for that bill that year, that audit and that advice and whatever, pays it before the ink dries. Why? There's a higher value to this higher level of advice given to businesses rather than just compliance. Compliance, they're going to see it as a value, but it's a value they kind of have to pay. It's the other stuff they want. It's the other advice, the other insights, the other guidance that accountants can provide and often can give an insight to going beyond the bookkeeping. So this is an opportunity, really, this is an opportunity for them to step up their value to the clients. And that's really what Marie-Andrée's done.
Got it. And so kind of, it's kind of it's starting that discussion, but let's take a quick step back. And let's say at the very basic level, your current accountant is not so interested in having you switch accounting systems. This is something that a lot of business owners have come to me and said, hey, I'm looking into books, or I'm looking into switching to Zoho CRM, for example. It makes sense to switch to books. But, I'm really entrenched in QuickBooks. My accountant is also entrenched in QuickBooks. How do you actually start this conversation? And I know, Marie-Andrée, you probably do the opposite, right? You kind of go to your accountants and say, hey, let's switch you to Zoho Books because it makes sense. But since you can kind of see the other side of things before you were a Zoho partner, what advice would you give to a business owner who is trying to introduce a new accounting software to their accountant?
Well, I think the thing is to open the discussion and give your accountant what it's going to be doing for you and what's going to change into your business, because it's not only just the accounting system, and that's what's so great about Zoho is that it's all a range of apps that help you run your business more smoothly and more efficiently. So the accountant, you're the client, you're his client, so he doesn't have to make that decision for you. But of course, you have a great relation with your accountant. It's it's a thing that is great for me because it's recurring revenues. You have like the contact with your customers, so it's a relationship that goes like for years and years. So it's not something that you want to change, but you have to be able to express all the benefits that you're gonna get from changing accounting system. And the other thing is we train accountants to use other software. So we've been doing that for a while now. And most of the time, once they understand what the difference are, and aging is the same, general ledger is the same, banking is almost the same. You have to, it's not rocket science, it's accounting. So all the features are not at the same place, not the same place to find the information, but at the end of the day, it does the same. So my opinion is Zoho Books does it better, but it's the same thing at the end of the day.
So So Nathan, I know you spend most of your day kind of talking to accountants who are interested in switching over. What are some of the reasons that those accountants give you in terms of why they're maybe switching from a system they've been helping their clients with for like the last 20 years?
Well, really, Tala, it comes down to they just want to have options. And kind of what Marie-Andre was mentioning was it's all about the relationship with the client. And this kind of is a perfect time for me to launch this poll question, which is just how is your relationship with your accountant? And whenever you have a really good relationship with your accountant, it's awesome to have some sort of option where, hey, this accounting software doesn't work for you. Let's find another one. Or, hey, let's look at Zoho Books because it integrates with Zoho CRM or other applications. And at the end of the day, an accountant should be focused on not only their client's accounting, but also how they can help them business-wise and kind of be a trusted advisor.
So, and some of these accountants that are coming to you, right? These are folks who are looking to become Zoho partners. A lot of times, at least the discussions I've had with them, this is the first, they've had one client kind of mention Zoho, or maybe they've heard of Zoho over the years, or they're basically looking at it for a particular client. So does that mean that they are they're so invested in that client that they're willing to kind of expand and check out some of these other apps? Is that kind of the feedback you've gotten from those accountants?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I feel that way. A lot of times, an accounting firm I used to work at, we used to just kind of go with the flow with whatever the client was using. And if it was a client we've been working with for a while and we just understood that, hey, this accounting software is what works for them. And one of our slogans was, if it isn't broken, why fix it? So we would go in there and kind of work on it. And kind of what Marie-Andre was mentioning earlier, though, if you see a way to improve their functions and kind of help them in the long run, a company should listen to an accountant just because they should treat them as more than the person that does their accounting. They should treat them as, just a trusted advisor who's there and looking for what's best for them.
Got it. So this kind of leads me into the next question, which is from a client perspective, from a business owner perspective. Let's say, I have my finances set up, or I will have my finances set up. I want to expand to other applications that can help increase the efficiency. Marie-Andre, where do you typically recommend your clients start after Zoho Books? Like, what apps do you kind of start with? Because there's so many, and it's hard to kind of know what to do.
Well, I think the first one is CRM. I mean, you need to track to track your customer, all is related, all the information related to your customer, and then have a view on your sales and your forecast. I think the forecast is one thing that you need to know what's coming in and then how to respond to that and deliver. So CRM is a great one, and I've been doing a lot of implementation of Zoho project also. So CRM project and books is and of course analytics at the end, but these are the 4 apps that we use the most for a lot of clients. Most of the clients are using those. Project is really great because it gives you, and it was a struggle for me because I started using it really soon in 2016, and I changed like 3 times the way I used it because it was always like too detailed or too focused on timesheet, or not enough focused on task, or I didn't add a view on the planning of my resources. So this is so great because you can change the way you use an app over time, and it's not static a way to start. So when you want to start, you can start small or you can start big. If you start big, then you could probably have a power user and a partner helping you. But if you start small, you could have a few features running. Susan show you how the integration between CRM and books is working, and it's really great. So you can start really small. Then the more you use it, the more you feel comfortable with it, then you can expand and use more feature. And that's what I did. I implemented about 1 or 2 new apps a year to run Cofinia, and the last one I still the last piece missing is Zodesk for Cofinia. I think it's going to be a great thing, and 2021 is going to be the year of Zodesk.
And so just for anyone who's unfamiliar, Zoho Desk is basically our support ticketing software. So instead of getting an email from your client or customer in an inbox, it'll go to an actual ticketing system where it'll track how long it's been there. It'll assign it to different employees, that sort of thing. So kind of on that related note, Marie-Andre, we have a question, which is, so many Zoho apps feel like they do the same thing. So if you talk about, you have basic inventory management in books, but then you have Zoho inventory, you have timesheets in books, but then you have Zoho projects. So what's kind of the way that you organize your thoughts as far as why you would expand to a new software? I have kind of my own version of it, but I want to hear how you sort of reconcile that.
Yeah, I think it depends on the type of business. For instance, you have timesheet in Zoho Project, you have timesheet in Zoho Books, and you have timesheet in Zoho People. And you could do time entry also in Zoho Desk. So there's no unique business. Everybody's different. So everybody's unique. So you need to look over at what is your process and then choose the better way to customize this process into your Zoho apps. And sometimes it's going to be books that it's going to be best, and sometimes it's going to be a project, or sometimes it's going to be a combination of two things. And to know each product separately, because you could use them separately and you could use them synchronized all together. So this is very different, but you have to understand, what do you want to accomplish? What's the goal with using the app, and then try to figure out, compare both benefits of a way or another. For instance, in Zoho Books, it's pretty basic timesheet, but in Zoho Project, you have really detailed function of project management. So it's not for everyone, and so you could, analyze what's your process and then choose the better product for your business.
And one suggestion that I kind of have for businesses in this process is they can, write out a workflow, right? How a customer kind of moves through their business, what employees do at each stage, that sort of thing. And then based on how their business functions, they can then try to assign a Zoho product that has that function to it. And so that's usually how you can find if there are some kind of gaps in your current offering. So if you're just using Zoho Books, but one of the functions is that you need to be able to look at a schedule of, as Marie-Andre was talking about, projects in the next 6 weeks, for example. It's kind of a long term. You want to be able to see a calendar. That's not something that the timesheet module in Zoho Books can do. And so that's when you would maybe think about expanding to an app like Zoho Projects. Similarly, when you're using an application like Zoho Books for expense management, if in your workflow you say that, I have employees and employees need to submit some sort of expense report, that's not a function that Zoho Books can actually handle. That would make you need to expand out into Zoho Expense. And inventory has similar types of things. So I think kind of start out at the core products, as you mentioned, like Zoho Books, Zoho CRM, write out your workflow. And someone yesterday mentioned a good way to do this is on sticky notes, right? And then you can reorganize the sticky notes in a sequence, and then you can kind of fit them in that way. So Val, I have a question kind of moving to the accountants or bookkeepers who may be present. And I want you to kind of talk a little bit more about this. How would an accountant even go about thinking of expanding their services? Because their bread and butter, as you mentioned, is compliance, it's bookkeeping, it's tax. They're not software gurus in a specific field like CRM. How do you actually get them to consider expanding it, and what's the strategy that they can employ?
Right. And Tala, can I do one thing before we do that?
Yeah.
Can we back up 2 questions just for a second? I need to tell folks a little bit about accountants. Like, why, go back to the question, why doesn't my accountant want me to change bookkeeping systems?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let me address that. Accountants are creatures of habit. We don't like change. The other issue is accountants want to be safe recommendations. They don't know Zoho, And if you look in the marketplace right now, the safe recommendation is something like QuickBooks or other solutions, Xero, things like that. So just realize that's kind of what they're doing. That's the way the accountants operate in the back of their mind. They're just kind of creatures of habit. They like to stay in these safe places, but they also want to be giving the best advice. So one of the ways you could open it with them is, hey, you know, this is an opportunity for me to use a different system. It's got a lot of really, really key features. I'd kind of like you to look at that and kind of see what you think about it with me. Now, let's go down. Let's talk about if you're an accountant. If you're on the other side of that coin, you're CPA or accountant or chartered professional accountant, and you're like, I'm doing a lot of compliance work. How do I, get into this other area, providing higher level business advisor services? It's kind of like you just pick an area that you've got an interest in, and you need to start learning a lot about that area, and then also start learning which technology solutions support that area. A very natural one for accountants to slip right into. Let's talk about the Zoho world. So you're doing compliance, you're doing all of Zoho books. It's a very natural and easy way to slip into something you're already very familiar with, which is expense reimbursement, because the expense solution handles expense reimbursement so terribly well, you could slide into consulting in that particular area pretty well. And as you grow your skills, you keep adding skill sets in different areas. At first, you might not be that successful as you're learning and developing that skill to offer your clients. But that's how you get better, is saying, I want to maybe do more with CRM, as mentioned, or I want to do more with expense reporting, or I want to help people more with their project costing and projects. It has to kind of come from the account that I want to expand my services these ways. And I would tell you, having been in a CPA firm where we did this for many years, we were doing implementations for at least over 10 years in accounting systems back in the day. You need to choose carefully, choose solutions that A, are going to be around a long time, B, have good support, and C, also have very good potential integration. And I think obviously Zoho, we're talking about Zoho today, so that's why I mentioned that I'm at Zoho, because of that potential. I see that huge potential here from this company. So it's a trial and error process. But
Val, I think
as you slip into that, you have a chance to really step up your billings. As Maria Andrea could talk about that too. Sorry, Tyler.
Right. No, I didn't mean to interrupt. I just wanted to kind of add on to your point, which is experimenting, trial and error. And
Right.
Maria Andrea, you were saying you just start using the products yourself, right? Like before you recommend it to a client, you're probably implementing it at Cofinia. What does that look like? How do you kind of put the product through the paces? How do you learn it?
Well, at first, the funny story is that I came across Zoho CRM first, and then looking into Zoho books, and we talked the first time. I don't know if you remember, Tala, but it was in February, and I was, I guess I had time back then, so I tried to use it. But the thing is, everything was set up pretty smoothly except the Quebec taxes, and that's what I was afraid. But I only did it the way I was thinking about it, but it's not the way that the system works. So it worked really well for Quebec tax, the provincial tax here, and it's just the way I didn't set it properly. But then after that, talking to the Zoho support, I was able to change that and run my thing smoothly. So most of the time it's really and I'm French first, French speaking first. So if here in Quebec there's a lot of people that are not able to go over user guides and things like that, I was fortunate enough to be able to do that and relate to the chat with Zoe. And so it depends on if you want to learn it, and so the learning curve is quite fast if you're using other accounting system. As I said earlier, it's really the same stuff, but you need to understand how the system thinks. So if you've been doing other accounting accounting system implementation, it's not going to be too hard. The only thing is, like, if you want to customize some stuff, if you want to have a custom function, automation, if you want to have integration with other apps, like processes integrated in your accounting system, then it's a little bit trickier. But then if you're using it on a day-to-day basis, it's a really fast learning curve.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you so much. And so just to kind of summarize the points that Marie-Andrée, Val, and Nathan were talking about. So it's a relationship that you want to build as a business owner with your accountant that is based on, of course, trust. It's based on kind of mutual understanding, and is based on the ultimate goal, which is growing your business, not just keeping the status quo. And so if that involves kind of finding a new accountant, or an accountant maybe finding a particular type of client that's best for them, just to finish off, do you have any advice on how someone should go about actually finding a accountant or trusted advisor that fits them? And
Yeah,
Val,
I guess
Nathan,
the first thing you can do is just go to an accountant's website that you're interested in. And I think Marie-Andrée was kind of mentioning this in the beginning. Accountants do different things. So if you just go to a random accountant and they don't actually work with manufacturing, then you might want to find a new accountant who does. And so I think the first step is just going to their website. And then obviously a lot of accountants do free consulting in the very beginning. So take that offer, go there, and make sure you have some sort of, obviously if you're going to accountant, your financials might not be ready to go, but make sure you have some sort of organization so that you can go there and actually talk about business rather than, hey, can you clean up my accounting?
Maybe another thing is to talk to your friends that
Yes.
are their business owners, because if they're not happy with their accountant, all they're going to tell us, they're going to say it to you. So find one of your friends that are happy with their accountants, and what is the reason? Is it because they have great tax advice, great financial advice, or because their books are clean, or because of what is the reason? And then you could choose from there, because it's a trust relationship between you and your client, and you need to be able. And even though when there's a lot of accountants in one firm also, and so if you don't have a fit with one accountant, then you could have a fit with another one at the same firm. So this is something that it's like going to the dentist, or if he's always hurting you each time you're going to change. So
yeah,
you need to find the one that you're comfortable with.
Spend some time. Yeah, I agree with Marie-Andrée. Spend some time, ask around. You want a long-term relationship here with an accountant. So don't be in a rush in this process. If you're thinking, I want somebody who can help me with more advice, more technology, more stuff, start looking and asking around. It's just absolutely the best way. Internet searches, I think, are great too, Nathan, but I would really look for the word of mouth thing.
Yeah.
So I want to just finish off with one last question from the audience. So this is from Trisha. Put up on the screen if you can see it. So Trisha says, and this is a question I'm assuming from Marie-Andrée, where is your biggest demand? So as an accountant, as a accounting professional, what area of expertise or consulting do you find that your clients need the most help with, or is that most relevant to expand your services into?
Well, Cofinha is the name is based on in French, comptabilité, finance, intelligence d'affaires, which is accounting, finance, and business intelligence. So the accounting part is having the books clean, everything runs smoothly, the information in place to have all the data there. And then the finance part is more the analysis and the forecast, and put yourself in the future. And then the business intelligence is more of having the right tools, and now that you have the data that is clean and runs smoothly, then analyze your data. So for my company, it's really different from accounting firms that are more into year-end and tax and things like that. And it was really helpful, because most of the time when I start with a client, sometimes he needs to go to an implementation of Zoho. Then we start and there's a fit there, and then he say, okay, well my bookkeeper left. Can you take over and start doing bookkeeping? And say, okay, yes. And then after that, into growth, or he has a project and he needs, to go to a bank and have some funding. So we do, financial modeling for them. So these are dimensions into my services that keep feeding themselves. So most of the time I have a customer coming in for one part of my business, and I can upsell to other part of the business, other services I have in the business. So for my company, it was a great way to expand my services.
Thank you so much for completing on that. I'm sorry we went a little bit over on time, but we are still going to give a 10-minute break. What you had for lunch, because I haven't had lunch yet and I'm not sure what I want to eat. Val, are you back?
Yes, I'm right here.
Fantastic. I'm glad you guys can hear me okay. Did you already have lunch? It's kind of it's right about lunchtime for you.
Tal, are you talking about food again?
I am talking about food because I haven't had lunch yet.
Well, neither have I. So I just grabbed a pretzel and a Diet Coke and we're ready to roll.
Awesome. All right. So I think we're ready to go. Peanut butter and jelly. That's a great idea. I got peanut butter and jelly, and I don't have bread, so I'll have to put it on something else. Salad. Nice. Tuna. All right. I'm glad we are on a virtual call and I'm not sitting next to you, Nathan.
Yeah.
All right. Marie-Andrée, are you back?
Yes.
Fantastic. So we have about a little less than an hour because we do have to spend a few minutes at the very end talking about payroll. So I'm going to transfer the session control over to you and let you take it away, and we are not going to interrupt you.
Well, I'm going to launch the polling question right
Yes.
now. Sorry.
Yeah. So I guess we will interrupt you, but
No problem.
Nathan, go ahead and launch that for us.
Yeah, it's just asking if anybody's used analytics before, so kind of give you a
good insight. Marie-Andrée.
We can see you. Yep.
Hi.
Hello.
So we'll give this polling question a little bit, about 15 seconds, and then we'll get going.
Kiri is hardcore. It said, no such thing as lunch. Bring smoothies and get work done.
Add some powder with proteins in it.
Oh, there you go.
All right.
Oh yeah, the protein shake lunch thing. Yeah.
And so Marie-Andrée, I think you can actually move your slides over. It looks like we restarted at the top, so you can probably scroll down on the right side. So you can, if you open up Show All Slides at the top right, you'll be able to open up that pane.
I think it's.
There we go. Almost there. There we go. Go.
And you're good to go?
Yeah. Do we have the result of the poll? Do we know?
Oh,
if,
yeah.
A lot of people.
Sorry, I didn't think you were. It was about 50-50, but let me actually get the real number. So, well, no, it was 37-64. So 64% said no. They've never used analytics before. So hopefully you can bring some insight to it and show them what it's all about.
Yeah, well, when we talked about this session, we talked about, giving you more information on, why do I love Zoe Analytics, what we've done with it at Cofinia for our customers and for ourselves. And it's not going to be as deep technical presentation because I have my two colleagues here at Cofinia, Alex and Mazuk, that are way better than me to do that. But I'm kind of a power user myself, so I like to put my hands in it and try to do stuff. But when it's going to be, really powerful reports, then I need to go over my teammates to do that. But the first thing and I think your colleague Tala LSP likes me for it because I always like to talk about analytics in the presentation I'm doing when I'm talking about Zoho, because this is as a CFO or as a business user, it is such a great app that you can connect to all your other apps that you have in Zoho and more than that. But the combination of information you can get with for instance, for ourselves, we have CRM, we have project, we have books. You can combine information coming from these three apps and blend it together. So this is really great. You have like reports and graphs and dashboard in each app, but not one gives you the powerful information that you could have if you blend those data. You can have custom reports. Sometimes we do, as accountant, we do a lot of Excel report. And even though this morning I was talking to a client that we started implementing Zoho Books 2 years ago, and we did some Zoe Analytics report for them. And now they have a new salesperson in charge, and they want to expand their usage of Zoho CRM. And I was asking them, how do you get this information and this other information, for instance, forecast and everything, and they were still doing it in Excel. So they didn't, realize all the potential that you could have and put into Zoho Analytics to have those reports custom made for you and for your rules of business, because every business is different. And I did some report for my company, because we're a professional services company, but we have recurring services, we have non-recurring services, and I have like 3 line of business. So I want to view this information presented in such a way that I have like one snapshot, but sometimes I want to also have like detailed reports to understand what the snapshot is telling me. So you can create a dashboard of KPI, like the KPIs that you need to follow or compare over time. So one thing I was lacking when I was going over my data is I wanted to have like a trend of what are the billable hours and the non-billable hours each month compared to last month. This was something that I wanted to have, and I wanted to project like the revenues that I was gonna be able to generate at the end of the month, to make sure that I'm on a good roll, or it's going to be a great month or so. So this is things that it's hard to do in one snapshot. You have to analyze your data, make a average rate, or if you want to have like general overview or deep down information, then with analytics you can do that. You can also have information that is not in Zoho apps. You can connect to a lot of other type of data, other software as well. You could have a spreadsheet connected. You could have a lot of information coming in and use that to improve your reports. You could have also this one is one of my colleagues, Mazdok, who talked to me about that. I didn't use it myself, but you could have, for instance, if you have some triggers that you want to put into a report, then you can have an alert sent to you based on the analytics report. So, for instance, if you have with Zoho inventory, you have some specific calculation for your inventory level, and you want to be to have an alert, then you could have that based on your report. And you can also schedule reports. For instance, we do timesheet in Zoho project, and I don't want to go over and prove each and every individual timesheet. So I have a report that is scheduled and sent to me every Monday morning. So I have like this great view, one snapshot, and I go over that. And if I want to review the information, then I can go through Zoho project directly. So these are different elements why I love so much Zoho Analytics. And the other thing is the data model is already there when you sync to the apps. So it gives you a better, it's faster to implement your report because of the data model that is already done. Of course, once you have a data model, you don't have all the relations done to your data, but at least you have a lot of them already built in when you start using it. The other thing is, as I said earlier, you can have a lot of different app information. For instance, earlier we spoke with Tala and Val and Nathan. If accountants are using QuickBooks, then you could connect analytics to QuickBooks also. You can connect analytics to Facebook, to Shopify, to Google Analytics. So if you want to have a dashboard for your organization and you want to have some HR information, some sales information, some finance information, then you can have an overview of a lot of the functions in your company, not only, HR data or finance data. So it's really great. You can have all the overview of different department of your organization into your dashboard. So the general overview, and for those 30-ish% of people that are already using Zoe Analytics, then it's going to be a bit a refresh for you. But for other people, so there's a kind of a different component of Zoe Analytics. So to achieve a dashboard, to start, our thinking having a dashboard, then you have a few steps prior to coming to that. So the first thing is to think about your data. So where are your data? You can link your data to the application, other applications, or there's Zoho apps, or the spreadsheet I told you earlier. And then once you have your data set into Zoe Analytics, and one thing that is really an amazing improvement is when I started using Zoe Analytics, you had different workspace for all your apps, and now you can have one workspace for all the apps embedded, and so you can blend all your data with all those apps. So this is so great. And then once you have your data, then there's some query tables that are already built in, but you can, build your own. So you can do your own analysis that you want. And for that, you need to be able to do SQL queries. So I'm not sure if everybody's comfortable with that, because most of it needs some technical knowledge for that. But I'm gonna give you a little trick later on. But of course, it's better if you have a programmer or a IT person in your company to help you with that. So these queries are going to give you the information. So then after that, you could build your reports and your graph based on those query tables. So the graphs are just the view, and there's a lot of different type of graphs, and we're going to see it later in the reports. So reports mainly, and I say that in a general way, but it could look at a pivot table in Excel. So it's really easy to build that. So if you're at ease with Excel, then you're going to be at ease with analytics. Once your data are there, you're going to be able to understand how to use it, and you're going to be able to build your own reports and graphs. And then the last thing is the dashboard. So then in the dashboard, you build your dashboard, adding some widgets, some graphs, and some reports, and then adding some filters. So that's the way to build it. So I might just see some question, maybe, if you think at this point. So
I'll launch a poll question as well while you're looking through the questions.
Okay.
In the poll, this is going to be the 7th poll question. And just a reminder, if you need your CPE, you need to answer 9 of our polling questions. And if you miss any, go to the poll section on the left-hand side and see the ones you missed. My question is, what are ways you are using or would use analytics?
So the way I use it, for instance, is every time I have a question that I don't find in the apps directly, or whenever I have a part of information in one app and the other in the other app. But and I'm going to show example later on. But for myself, it's more of a blend of different, or different information in different apps, or reports that I need to do each and every month. For instance, for one of my clients, we have an analysis done on all the different revenues that we want to do analysis in the balance sheet, so to tie the balance sheet number with all the information. So we built a report for that, because they have like maybe 200 entries each month, so it's pretty hard to follow. So this is more of a accounting report that I need to do. But for others, it's more of information that is important to understand before doing some decision. For instance, prior to hire new staff, I need to see what's my backlog. So I did a report or custom field in the CRM, and so I'm able to have a forecast that is generated, and I see this forecast in number of hours. So what's the number of hours I have in backlog for the next few months? And then I can split that between line of business that I've created for my company. So since I have, different skill set for people doing Zoho implementation and, people doing accounting. So I have different profile of people. So my backlog gives me insight on, should I hire, accountants, or should I hire, people that project manager, for instance, to do implementing of Zoho books or Zoho people or Zoho project. So these are type of information I like to have in my Zoho Analytics.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of people answered they like to combine information, or they would combine information, kind of what you're talking about. But also, everybody just kind of sees analytics as a tool where they can do more than just creating dashboards or customer reports. They can kind of do everything, and that's the whole reason why companies are using it.
Yeah. The other thing that are really nice is you could, you don't have to be like a Zoho Analytics user to use the information, the dashboard, and the reports generated by Zoho Analytics. So you can, of course, look, connect to your Zoho app and then go in it. But you also you can send reports to user, or you could have the user coming in and have restriction based on ownership of data, region, line of business. So other people can come in the app in Zoho Analytics and go over the data. But you can also publish the reports and dashboard on a web page. For instance, if you have an internal platform that to share information, or you could have slideshows. You can send links to people in a mail, or you can also publish on your website. For instance, if you have stats on whatever economical statistics or something and you want to share, you can publish that on your web page. And you can also send the report or the dashboard in Excel and PDF or HTML. So the HTML format is really cool, because it's really as if you were into Zoho Analytics. So that's pretty great. A tip for beginners, because I had that in the question earlier, if you go to Zoho Gallery. So I think if I share my screen, I'm going to go over and look into, so this is the website of Zoho, and you could have all the galleries of different dashboard that has been done by Zoho. And it's really great, because if you go into, for instance, Zoho Finance, then you're going to go over all different dashboards that are already done. For instance, this is a financial dashboard, and it could give you kind of an example, because sometimes it's, okay, I need this KPI and this one, but not this one, not this one. So you could kind of do some cherry picking of type of widget or kind of reports that you want to do. You can also bring the information, copy this workspace. Once you you generate your synchronization the first time, you can also copy these type of reports into your own workspace. So you're gonna have these example also, and so you could go over into Zoe Analytics. So this is a view, and you have your data. All your tables are here connected to your applications, and you have the reports on some report that's are already done by Zoe, and they gave it to you. So you have this information that you can use, and you can then modify those visualization or graphs, and you can change it if you don't like it. So if you want to go over that and change the way it presented, and change the type of bar chart, and change the colors, you could have your company team of colors blended into the report and things like that. So you can do that also. And then the tip is, if you want to see how a report is done, for instance, you can copy this report and save as a copy. And then after that, you're going to have the edit design. So once you have the edit design button, then you can see, what was the table that was set? What are the fields that have been chosen? If they add some filter, some user filter, then it's kind of a reverse engineering of, how Zoe built the report or the dashboard. And you could overview that and learn from it. But most of the time, what I did is, when I went to, so you have, I'm not sure you have here query tables. So the little round here logo is the query table. Then I'm not sure if you could do the same, but you could go over in your environment and that Zoe had created, and you could go over also the query, how the query has been done, what's the way they set it up. So you could, and I did it a lot of times. I copied it and then changed based on different data that I wanted to add in a query. For instance, if there was something missing in this one, then I would only copy a little bit of the information, so I could add it to the query, and then I would have like a new column of information. And then based on this query, I was able to do, for instance, a chart of or a new pivot table, and then start using that for doing my query. So this is a pretty easy way to learn how to do it. So go over what's been done, in your environment, and then copy it to make sure that you could, present it and use it for yourself. So just want to go back to the presentation, and sorry, I will need help from Nathan or maybe Tala, because I think, the presentation maybe.
So you can click on Share Materials at the bottom.
Okay.
And you should be able to choose day 3 and hit play.
Great.
Thank you.
There you go.
So this is a way to learn how to do some graphs and some reports, and then build it into a dashboard. So maybe go over some question. Do you help real estate agents set up their Zoho books and link to CRM? Yeah, we do that, and you could go over to Zoho partner, and there's a lot of partners in your region, or I think Susan also can help, I'm sure. And we team a lot with other partners that are not accountants. So as Susan said, some partners are not comfortable doing the book parts of the implementation of Zoho, for instance, because of the accounting part. But I think this is something that if you don't have a partner doing specific books, then we could come in and help you with that. And it's not that complicated if your books are in order. If your books are not in order, then it's a little bit challenging. And I saw a previous question also on when it's the right time, and I think year-end is a good time to do migration for using Zoho books, but you could do it also during the year. Carrie said, where I didn't see what she clicked to get the Zoho gallery. So if you Google Zoho gallery, maybe Tala, you could add the link. But there's I just Google Zoho Analytics gallery, and you're gonna see the link, and it's gonna give you here the address. But I might be able to copy that. I'm trying to use this, but I'm not the most efficient as of now. But probably Tala could help me with that. Another question is, we use Xero for some of our clients. Would it be possible to integrate data in analytics? Yes, there's an integration. We saw it in the slide earlier. So I've never tested the integration with Xero. My colleagues, Alexa or Masduk, have done it for QuickBook for clients I have. And one great thing is, and I'm going to show you a financial dashboard that we did for clients, and you could have like one dashboard for your client. If you're an accounting firm and you want to have like financial report, you do bookkeeping for them, and you want to have one dashboard, but based on either QuickBooks or Books or Xero, if you use all three systems, then probably this is something that can be done at some level, because as I said earlier, I really love Zoho Books, the capabilities that you could have, and I'm not sure you could do the same in QuickBooks. So I do more migration, well, I think I did only in 4 years one migration, Books to QuickBook, but I do each quarter I do maybe 2, 3, or 4 migration from QuickBook to Zoho Books, because there's much more customization that you're able to do in Zoho Books. So this is really something that I would suggest. If you have smaller companies with really simple business, I think QuickBook could fit. But if you want to have a company that wants to grow and have different, line of product, different line of business, working, in different regions, you want to have more information, then I think really Zoho Books is a better fit. So if you want to build your own report, then you could have like simple reports like a pivot table. And a great thing about Zoho is that every month you have new release of new features. Like Christmas Day, when they release their new feature, I really like this part, and I'm looking forward in Zoho Books, in Zoe Analytics, and all the apps that we do use. It's always nice to see what they come with. But every month you have new feature, and one that is great is conditional formatting. So you have that in your report, so you can see, are you on target? For instance, I put there's a criteria, I'm not sure in English, I'm sorry, but all over 50%, then it's all in green, and then under 50%, it's in red. Well, these are my company color in my template, so you see the pink here. But these are things that you could do in Zoho Analytics. So this is really cool improvement that you could see your report. And I was talking earlier about the line of business. So you have line of business, for instance, it's based on simple data, but you have accounting, finance, and business intelligence. So these are my line of business, and you could see what are the split between the different line of business. And so you could do that in Zoho Books with tags, and you could have report in Zoho Books on tags, but you cannot see all the 3 tags in one report. So you have to submit a P&L based on one tag, and then submit another report based on the other tag. So in analytics, you could have a view of all your line of business in one view, instead of generating 3 reports. So this is something that is really great. So this is the chat. No more question. I think I let Tala and his team handle the chat, so I'm gonna move on. you have also another report, and I'm not sure if you can see it well in this because sometimes it's some customer data, so I don't want to to show you that. But it's a report that we did based on project and books. So time entry were in project, but sales are in books, and we add the employee rate, the cost rate in Zoho People. So we were able to blend the data from these three apps and show a report. And sorry if there's some English stuff and French stuff in there. So you can see if the project is doing some profit or enough, margin, as we could say. So it's really helpful to see how your project is going. And you could have like different views of that for different group of project or business unit or things like that. So you could, send your report by, manager, for instance. So this is a pretty cool report that we were able to do.
And where's that pulling information from?
So this is, for instance, the hours are based in the project are based in Zoho project. So the people are doing time entry in Zoho project, but the sales part, the vente in French. So the sales part is coming from the invoice that are done in Zoho books.
Yeah, so that's how this is just kind of an example of how we're combining two softwares within Zoho. So that's pretty neat.
And you have the third app, which is for instance, in this project, I have the employee rate. So if you have 3, 4, 5 employee that has done the 16 hours, and you have, for instance, like a technical person that his rate is lower than the senior staff or things like that. So you have different rates. So you can calculate the cost rate based on the individual person that did the time entry, because in project you have selling rate, but you don't have like cost rate, but you have you can put the cost rate in your now you can do it in Zoho books, but you can do it also in Zoho People. And and you have calculation that you could do, and your profit and your margin. So this is really fun to be able to blend the information together in those apps. So do you have to refresh project and books in order to draw current data from both apps? Okay, so in your when you go over your setup, you can ask to synchronize your data every 2 hours, every I don't remember out of my head right now, but so I know that my data are synced every morning at around 6 a.m. And then so I have all the information coming from the last day, but you also can, refresh on the spot your data. But if you don't refresh, you're going to have the information coming from the last sync. And I think it's once a day or something like that. So every few hours. So you don't need to refresh if you didn't change the information. What I do most of the time is at the month end, if I have some report for clients that I did some journal entry, for instance, and then I need to run a report, then I would have to refresh my data.
Yeah, and that data is in real time, correct?
It's not the sync to Zoho books is not in real time. It's always the data are sync at the time you set in your setup, initial setup.
Cool.
While Marie's looking at a question or two, let me just throw in some value here on these analytics. Years in business as an accountant and a CPA, and I learned that many business people can't read financial numbers. They just don't want to. They don't perceive them. They don't understand them. But if I can show those people the same financial numbers in a chart or graph, they grasp it immediately. And we did that on a number of things. I mentioned earlier the audit we did where we found these travel expenses were out of whack. My little firm went out and bought Macs back in the day because we could do graphics and show our client just how out of whack they were, using graphics to represent these travel expenses where the person's travel people, comparing them to industry norms. He didn't get it with the regular numbers at first. We showed him one graph and he was all over it. And just so what we're showing you folks, this analytical stuff is extremely powerful in business persuasion and business communication.
I'm going to share something with you because we had that at some point, and I'm going to go over this. So this is a dashboard that we did for a client, and because they were, asking the same question every month, so we put some text in the dashboard and say, okay, this is what is this means. So sorry, it's all in French, but the revenue, so you can see, and all the information is set up here. So these are reports that we did for customer, but we were able to explain the metrics or the calculation of what it means. And if it's between these or the information, you could put everything you want there and explain to your colleagues or to the business owner. If you're an accounting firm and you have your report and you want to standardize and say, okay, for instance, a quick ratio between X and Y is great because of, so you could give some insight in your report based on that. So another thing that is great is you could use the custom field in Zoho Books to change a little bit the way of the information is structured. And I'm going to probably switch in my presentation, and we're going to go right here because you could see the screen and it's going to be easier. But what we did, and I'm going to go back in Zoho Books for that. So in Zoho Books, what we have is we have a profit and loss, and it's really a long list of account, and you could of course group some of those, but this is not something maybe you want to share with your management, or for instance, a lot of my clients needs to report to their bank and for margination and things like that. So what we do is you could go over and set up in your Zoho Books. You go to the settings, and you go over to the accountant section, and then in the chart of account you can create some custom field. So these custom field, for instance, it's drop down menu. So we said, okay, we have in our chart of account, there's some type of account natively in Zoho Books, but we want to change that. So I want to have different sections and different groups in my financial statement. So I'm going to create some custom field and have a drop-down menu with the different type of account that I need to have. And this is pretty interesting once you have maybe less in your balance sheet, but in your P&L, it's really great if you want, for instance, having your revenues and then direct cost, which is cost of goods sold in Zoho Books. But also if you want to have like a section in your P&L for sales and section for marketing, customer services, IT, R&D. So these are sections that you don't have. You have cost of goods sold, then you have expense and other expense. So you don't have this kind of section. So you can create that in your custom field. So whenever you create those and you go to your chart of account, and in your chart of account, then you specify for each account in which group and which section is. And then after that, once you go to Zoe Analytics, then you can show off your P&L or your balance sheet with those subsection and groups. So it's not going to be like the overall presentation of all the account, or it's not going to be presented in the same format as Zoho give you natively, but you can have some groups that are your own and for your own business. So this is something that I really enjoyed, because I always like to see, my sales. What's the percentage of my sales cost on my revenue? Is it growing, or it's stable? So, and I want to have my admin. I want to have a lot of my clients have R&D costs, so we want to go over that also. So these are features that enhance a lot what you could do with your standard chart of account. And one thing is, I think, analyzing numbers in Zoho books. A thing that I see many times is that people are not using the in Zoho books, but also in other systems, the items as a way to analyze their number. They tend to create a lot of accounts that could be items. So if you go into your report, you have sales by items, and you can see all the sales for all different items. So you could have a lot of information coming from that, and those items then are related to your revenue account. For my part, for instance, I do in my business intelligence, section or line of business, I do implementation of Zoho Books, Zoho CRM, Zoe Analytics. So I want to keep track of those. But overall, I only have one revenue account, which is, revenue of consulting business intelligence. So if I want to going through, then I could drill down and see all the information related to more detailed information. But in my P&L, I can stay at a higher level of information. So this is something I find very useful. And when I do implementation, this is something that I really try to optimize or structure a way to make sure that the owner or the managers have the information properly set up, so they don't have all the level at the same at the P&L level, or at the too much information where it's not needed. So this is something I like to do. Question here. Can these report publish out as HTML dashboard to send out? Yes, it could be. How do you copy dashboard from gallery into the analytics apps? There's a copy of Workspace, but I think the best way is to, when you start using, and I could probably look over and send it after. It's when you generate your workspace, there's a place where it says, do you want to copy all the model done by Zoho? But it's been a long time since I've done it, but my colleague Mazduk or Alexandre would be able to tell me how to do it, and I can send it to you. Sorry for my French and English. For my demo account, the data are in French. So some of the time you see like the information in English, but most of the time there's some stuff in French also. So this is something I need to probably have like data set in English also. How do you utilize subscription and pull in the items from subscription correctly to see in one spot? So subscription is also related and embedded, because the Zoho Finance apps are connected. I'm not sure exactly, because the items in Zoho subscription, I think you see the same. It's the same item in Zoho Finance and in Zoho Books than the ones in subscription. So maybe it's more of a technical question that I could answer after this presentation. So other stuff. So I showed you this dashboard that we did. The thing is the blend with Zoe Analytics and Zoho Finance, the power of those two together is something that's really interesting. One thing that is interesting is the web tabs. So you can have your reports. You have the standard dashboard of Zoho that you cannot change, but you can embed your own dashboard into Zoho Books by creating web tab that you have on the bottom left of your Zoho Books menu. And you only have to add your URL address of your dashboard into it. So you could have a few dashboard view into your web tab. You also can link other web pages that are really interesting for you, exchange rate, or I don't know, maybe your bank link. If you go, you need to process payments and go to your bank, then you could have your link also there. So this is feature that could, help you have both environment in one place in Zoho Finance. Another thing that you could do, I showed it earlier, is the customization. And you have these custom field in each module in Zoho Books. So you have it in your chart of account, but you have it in items. So you could add a lot of information in items. You could have a lot of information to your customer also. So whenever you need some custom field, you can add them into your in Zoho Books to enhance the functionalities. In Zoho Books, you have a lot of automation. It's not quite as powerful that you have in Zoho CRM. I guess it's going to be coming also, but at this point you have workflow rules that are that you can set in Zoho Books. So it's in your settings in the menu automation, and then you could have some rules. Say, for instance, if you have some employees that are receiving commission for when invoices are paid by your customer, then they can have notification that the invoice has been paid, but you can also see it in your account in Zoho CRM if you did the sync. But there's a lot of trigger of notification that you could do into Zoho Books based on some criteria that you want to set. You can also do more function such as update fields. So you could have, for instance, simple update fields if you want. For instance, one of my clients, they have a lot of bank account, and they have a lot of salespeople on the field, and they always forget to post specific bank account. For instance, when it's paid by credit card, paid by check, or paid by wire transfer, things like that. So we can create some update fields, so it will change the bank account selected based on criteria. So this is pretty cool. It's not kind of a validation rule, but you also can add some validation rule if you want. But this is something that, once they're added, they have a customer in front of them. They don't want to have all pop-ups say, okay, no, it's not the right way. So validation rule can, be stressful if you have a lot of line of customer in front of you. But then an update field could be easier to set up, and it's going to be more, it's going to do the same thing at the end of the day. You can also create some update fields, for instance, for estimates that have to be expired after 30 days. So if you send out some estimate and you say, okay, it's these pricing are available for 30 days, then you could make sure that you have all your estimate changed to expired after this delay if the approval is not done. And for maybe, I'm not sure if Susan talked to you about that this morning, but you can integrate with Zoho Sign for approval of your estimate. So this is really cool. And there's some functions that you can have to create, rules to make sure that if the the estimate is signed, and a copy, for instance, could be sent to your CRM and things like that. So there's a lot of stuff that you could do, even though in update fields are more complex custom function. And one of the cool custom function, maybe it's not interesting for all of you, but some of you that manage multiple language for a customer in Zoho, so you could use French templates, English templates, Spanish templates, but you have to assign those templates manually to each customer. So if you want to have, you could have a custom function, and you have the portal language of your customer. So when you create your customer, the customer file in Zoho Books, then you could use the portal, even though you don't give them access. You could use that to say, okay, which language the portal is going to be, and then have a custom function based on that, and it will go and change all the models, the templates that you did for your invoice and for your emails. So it's going to be really easy to change that and not do it manually. So this is really cool. Oh, I see a question here. You can create multiple Zoho Books portals. As of now, there is only one Zoho Books portal, but you have different access for different clients. So each client have their own access and see only what they need to see for themselves. So I'm not sure if you were talking about one portal per client or multiple portal for books, but each client can have their own portal based on the invoice estimates, timesheet that you have for them in the system.
And Marie-Andre, one question was that related to having multiple portals, you can actually do blended reports, right, in analytics, where you have, like, let's say a business has 2 different books accounts or QuickBooks and books. I know I was talking to the analytics team. They're saying that this is something that's now available. Have you had any experience with that?
We are starting to have some few questions about that. For instance, companies that have like consolidation of subsidiaries. We've not done it as of now, but I guess we're going to be confronted to that in the next few months, because I have a customer that has, they are set up as of now with one CRM, 2 Zoho people environment, 1 Zoho project, and 4 Zoho Books account for their whole structure of companies. And of course, we will need to think about the intercompany charges and the consolidation of all those 4 companies, but I've not done it so far.
Got it. Thank you.
Another slide. Another thing that you could do also to enhance, the functionality is to use Creator. I'm not sure if you used it priorly, but this is something. And for the story, it's I started and I created my first tab of Zoho Creator like 3 years ago. I was supposed to go golfing and I didn't try. It was the first time of the year, and I didn't try my golf clubs, and I had a pain in my shoulder, so I was not able to play. And I sat in the clubhouse and start programming, and it's not programming, but doing a Zoho Creator app, and I was able in 4 hours with the help of Google, and to do a simple Zoho Creator app. So I was really pleased with that, and that's the when I started be interested in doing some small stuff, and it's really great because it's kind of a drag and drop environment to create small apps, and you have a marketplace or different example also that you can change and customize. But I think that we did to blend data from Zoho Books and Creator is I'm not sure if you came across from that, but you cannot send all your customer statements at once at the end of the month, like other system. And we did it with the help of creators. So we built a small app that connected to Zobook, came and retrieve all the information from invoices and credit notes, and then generate and send by email all the customer statements. So there's a lot of things that you could do with Zoho Creator. And probably Tala, when you said, having consolidated information, a way to do that is to have information put into Zoho Creator and then blend by analytics. If you want to have some, consolidation level or, elimination information based on some criteria. So you could probably do that in Creator first, and then all your report, built in analytics, and then, set up that way. So there's no end at the creativity that you could have, using all those apps together. And once you start, figuring how to create these custom fields and these little functions, and you could power it with also Zoho Flow to push information that where the sync is not gives. For instance, sometimes in the CRM you have fields that you want to push in Zoho books, but the synchronization doesn't give you the opportunity to do so. Then you could use Zoho Flow to push information into Zoho books. So this is really a great way to enhance, all the functionality that are already into the Zoho books, Zoho Finance app, and other apps of Zoho. So this is really cool.
Yeah, so it seems like the only limitation is your own creativity, right?
Yeah. We've I think it's pretty small. We've done maybe 150 implementation of Zoho books so far, and over that maybe 5% are really simple implementation that there's no customization for the client. We always find a way to address some needs that they have, some specific that they have, to have the information presented or structured a way that they can have KPIs shown with analytics. So if they don't want to start using analytics at first, then into Zoho books. So one example is a client that I have, and well, his customer is the end customer, but he bills like a transportation company. So his customer is his vendors, and his so the structure that he has is a little bit different. So when I tried to see a way to show the information, so we use items to be the end customer, and the real customer in Zoho books are the one they bill, but are vendors for him. So it's quite a different architecture that we did for him, but he was able to see all the metrics he needed to manage his business, and he was really pleased with that. So Jackie said, so you have to link Zoho Creator with Zoho Analytics. Yeah, there's an integration between Zoho Analytics and Zoho Creator. Yes, there is. So it's kind of just a snapshot of what you could do with Zoho Analytics and some great feature that you have in Zoho books. But I think what you need to see is what type of information you need to run your business at first. And once you have that, then it's with the help of Zoho, our partners, we could set it up so you have that. And I think it's really helpful. It's you have functions to help you do things really faster to do the stuff. So Susan said it took her 2 hours to do some proposal, and now it's down to, I don't remember the time, but we experienced the same thing. We had the same thing for our proposal. And the other thing we had is to see, the workload for our employee. It was really not something that we were able to see. And now in project, we are able to see that and still use Zoho project to run reports on, how to do the estimate. So for instance, if I can compare two companies and see, okay, what should I charge for bookkeeping for this company, or what should I charge to this company for implementing Zoho, then I could go over and have comparison or analysis on my data. So still I have that, and I could also have like task list of all the things I should do on a monthly basis for my recurring projects, or on a project basis for all those that have like the implementation. So this is really things that it's your creativity that it's going to be, the way that you're going to structure your Zoho apps to improve the way you're doing your business, and give you more leverage and give you more time to do it. But maybe one last thing I could say is that, last January, we were 4 more people. And I decided, because I had people leaving for other companies, and I was really pissed because I was, you build the knowledge of your people, and I was a little bit mad about that. So I decided to use fully the Zoho apps, and looking for myself, because we do stuff for clients, but we never do it for ourselves. So I started using it for myself, and now we are 4 people less, but we do the same revenues with, of course, a lot more margin. So this is a great improvement and I've been using, the Zoho Suite for the entire life of Cofinia, and I would not change, for another platform. I would not change anything. I just want to add more of the functions of Zoho into my business. So I just want to keep improving and use it more and set it up. And the other thing, the part is missing is my time, but it's really a great. These are great products, but overall, it's a great. We use Zoho One, so it's really a great platform.
Thank you so much, Marie-Andrée. Nathan, do you have a last poll that you want to launch?
Yeah, go, Marie-Andrée. Can you go and go to the last slide so everybody can see your contact information?
Yeah.
And the last poll question is just simply asking if you would like Marie-Andrée to contact you in regards to Zoho Analytics or any other Zoho Finance application. Obviously, she does great work over there, and I think you mentioned you've done over 150.
Yes, maybe 200 implementation of different apps overall, but only Zoho Books, because most of the time we do CRM and books, or project and books and things like that. But overall, maybe 150 Zoho Books implementation. And Zoe Analytics, we've done a lot, but I think it's something that people are not aware of what they can,
the capability.
Yeah, because this is something if I could have somebody full-time doing my, dashboard in Zoho Analytics, I would do, but there's so many things you could do, but this is a really, really great tools.
Yeah, that's awesome. I really do appreciate you kind of walking through that. And I do have one more question for you. Out of that 150, 200 implementations, how many of those were word of mouth referrals to you? Just kind of a full circle.
Well, I've been tracking my my lead source, for instance, and I did that in the CRM, and I didn't track it at first. As I said, I started using really small pieces of the CRM, but now more and more I want to track all my KPIs. I would say in the last year, maybe it's about 20%. Most of them are referrals from Zoho partner side or other partner that I have for like bank partnership. Well, not partnership, but people in banking, and also have some partnership with the help with startup. So they have some grant here in Quebec to help startup in these company. These program are referring me, but I have the chance to have maybe 8 different channel of acquiring my clients. So, but maybe 30% is upsell from existing customers. So it's pretty
That's
cool.
awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. Well, we really do appreciate it. But to conclude our workshop, we need
We've got
Todd's going to
one
walk
more
us through
session.
payroll. One more
Yeah.
session, everyone. So hang in there. We have
It'll
about
just be
2 more
about
minutes.
a little less than 10 minutes. Just wanted to say thank you so much, Marie-Andre. Really, really appreciate it. Please do note Marie-Andre's email down. She's just a fantastic resource for all things Zoho. She is based in Canada, but I do believe you're able to work with clients in the States as well. So thank you so much. So very quickly, I'd like to shift gears, and it's going to be it's not really a session. I think I just wanted to make sure that we covered Zoho Payroll because it is an application that a lot of folks have been asking about. It's currently only in Texas, California, and New York. As far as expansion into other states, this has been a question I've posed to the payroll team for quite a while now, and it's kind of a double-edged sword. One of the concerns is that as we move into more states, we have to continue to update and keep the product updated for those local and state taxes. So that takes a higher amount of resources from our support team. And then at the same time, we're also supporting international additions. So unfortunately, it is a bit of a slow rollout. They are kind of following basically where the majority of Zoho customers are in the US. I believe after this, the 4th state will be Florida, which hopefully shouldn't be too difficult because it's like Texas with no income tax. And then also working on a Canadian edition as well. So I just wanted to kind of show you what the application
Let me just add something right there on when you said no income tax. You can trick it a little bit. If you live in a state with no income tax, no state income tax, you can still use Zoho Payroll. I've got a colleague in Tennessee that's using Zoho Payroll, and essentially just he built his own state table and worked some things through to where he's able to still use it. I think there's 7 states with no state income tax.
Yeah, it's definitely doable. I just don't want to, it's like I wouldn't recommend it. I just want to be totally upfront with folks is that if you feel like you have to, it is definitely a simple payroll product. So I just want to kind of show you exactly what this looks like. So I believe you can see my screen now. All right.
While you do that, let me throw in one other little pitch to folks quickly. Many businesses, it makes a lot more sense to outsource your payroll and use third-party companies because it separates it in the accounting system, and that way you don't end up with somebody breaching, getting into payroll and finding out payroll they don't need to. So there's a number of third-party products that work pretty well that you could look at. Also, no, we are looking at partnerships. We don't have anything to announce right now, but we are looking at partnerships with some of these other third-party payroll providers. Go ahead, Tal. Sorry.
Thanks. So just wanted to show you, it's a very simple product. On the main dashboard, right, it's going to give you some basic information on if you have any pending taxes that need to be paid, any forms that need to be filed, just a basic summary of how many employees you have, payroll cost. Obviously, this is a demo account, and it's a little bit difficult because we don't have real tax integrations here. But the one thing you'll notice is that every time you have a payroll that needs to be processed, this draft will basically be created on your home screen. I'll go ahead and just hit process pay run, and basically all of your employees will simply be listed here. Now, this is a manual process at this time, so this isn't something that's bringing in hours from another application. We are developing an integration with Zoho People, which is our HR product, to actually get those hours brought in here, as well as an integration with Zoho Expense to bring reimbursements that are paid to employees on their payroll. So those are things that you'll see in the future. But right now, again, very simple payroll application. You would simply enter in the hours that the employee has worked. We'll see how to add an employee and the information, but this employee currently makes $35 an hour. Very simple calculation. I would hit save and continue. And then basically it gives me a summary of the taxes that are deducted for this employee, what's paid by the employee, what's paid by the employer, if there's any additional deductions or benefits. So currently this employer does not offer any benefits and the employee has not opted for any additional deductions. And then I can simply go ahead and approve this payroll. And so you'll actually see that once you have an integration set up with Zoho Books, the journal entries from this pay run are then moved over into Zoho Books. So that payroll expense is marked in your accounting system. So once this is done, you'll see that you actually have a net pay amount here, so $1,029. In this case, I've selected that we print checks for this employee, or you can actually physically write a check. The other option is that Zoho Payroll has an integration with Forte for direct deposits. So if you'd like to direct deposit with employees, you can definitely do this using the Forte integration. And I'll show you exactly what it looks like when you add some employee details over here. So let's go to the employee section, add employee. And you'll notice it's all pretty much standard information. One of the important things to note is that Zoho Payroll does come with a employee portal. So employees can go in, view their own pay stubs, W-2s once those are available, and any kind of other kind of scheduling information eventually will make their way into the portal. But as of right now, it's mainly for pay stubs. You'll choose whether this employee is salaried or hourly, and you can enter in that information here. Now, once you've done that, on the following pages, you'll enter in personal information for that employee, their tax deduction. So what is their filing status? Are they single? Are they married? And then you'll notice that for California, since we do have state income taxes, we actually have both the taxes set up for the state of California under the Employment Development Department, and then you also have the federal taxes through the IRS. So this is actually an integration that's set up. Zoho Payroll does connect into both of those systems. So Zoho Payroll will, for example, be able to, it doesn't do it at this time, but be able to actually file your quarterly returns with the IRS. As of right now, basically what Zoho Payroll does is makes all of the information in the forms available, and basically you can see the forms and you copy them over into the associated form that you need to fill out for either the IRS or your state. So for those, there are some taxes in Texas. I know there's no income tax, but I believe there's like unemployment taxes that you still have to pay. And then of course, New York and California are kind of similar in their terms of complication. So that is absolute basic structure. It's a very, very simple payroll product. It does not have really much in terms of things that are added features. You don't currently record time in here, right? It's, again, the time is entered in manually. You could use another product like Zoho Zoho People to record time, and then that would be brought in here. You can choose various different pay schedules, whether you're paying employees weekly, semi-weekly, monthly, or even some kind of custom period. In this particular demo account, we've set it up to be weekly. You can set up benefits. So these are kind of manual benefits. If you have, let's say, a sick leave policy, a vacation leave policy, or even other benefits, like let's say you have some kind of contribution that you make into a health insurance account, other benefits for employees, you can actually set those up and include those for those employees. So whenever you're actually setting up an employee, that's actually where you'll find this additional information that you can add here for them. So this is just something to kind of give you an idea of what's possible. Again, this is a product that's only in California, Texas, and New York as of right now. The ability to run very simple payroll. The ideal customer for Zoho Payroll is a very small business, I would say, that has just a handful of employees. They're looking for a simple way to run their own payroll where they don't need to pay a large amount to a payroll company. Now, if you're using Zoho One, I believe Zoho Payroll is included for each employee that you have a Zoho One account for. If you're using Zoho Books or something and you'd like to move this, excuse me, let me change this edition. Currently, it's showing me the India page. It's $1 per user per month. So it's very inexpensive, something to actually take a look at for Zoho Payroll. So unfortunately, we don't have those added integrations with other payroll companies at this time. But as Val mentioned, there are a number of other organizations that have softwares that our customers use. A lot of times what folks will do is inside of Zoho Books, they'll simply set up a template for journal entries that gets posted every time they have a pay run. And they can do that. And that's essentially what Zoho Payroll does anyway.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So that is just a really quick and dirty overview. Sure, Nathan, go ahead if you want to wrap this up.
Yeah, I just needed to launch one more poll question, and it's sorry for kind of going a little over time, but the question is just basically, what's your favorite workshop day? We had a lot going on this week. We covered Zoho Books, Zoho Finance, other Zoho Finance tools such as inventory and expense, and CRM and analytics for sure.
While folks are answering that, I just wanted to cover a few things. So one is in the handouts tab, you'll see that there is a day 3 survey. Please go ahead and take that. It is, of course, required for folks that need CPE credit. So we will send you a CPE certificate by tomorrow. So we just have to go back and basically check how many hours you were logged in for all the different sessions, make sure we issue that credit correctly for you. So please fill out that day 3 survey so that we can go ahead and start doing that. The recordings for all the sessions, once all the recordings are compiled, we'll also send those to everyone. Hopefully we can send those by the end of today. We'll also include the slides for each day, so you can go back and view those. Of course, the recording has video of the slides, so you can still see them. And then lastly, we'll include any handouts that we had in the handouts tab. So there was a CRM handout that Susan generously shared. There's also some information on her organization, as well as Cofinia with Maria and Tree. And then, for example, yesterday we talked about some information on inventory, expense, subscriptions. I'll include the contact information for each of those product experts. And then last but not least, we still have a session tomorrow morning for accountants and bookkeepers who are basically just going to get a basic introduction into our finance partner program. So that is something that you as a business owner can ask your accountant to attend. We'll give you both $100 in Zoho wallet credit if they do. All they have to do is register at the link on the screen. We will also include that in the email that'll come to you, and you'll find that in the handouts tab as well. So thank you so much for the last 3 days of participation. It was incredible to have you, all the commentary, the Q&A. It was really, really enjoyable. So just wanted to extend that appreciation from all of us on the partner team to all of you.
Yeah, you're all welcome if you want to join that partner event, kind of check that out as well. But we really do appreciate it. I think we've had some really good discussion, and also we have learned some very good things from this week. Thank you.
And thank you all so much. So I'm going to go ahead and close out the session. And if you have any questions for us, you should have all of our contact information very soon. All right. I look forward to seeing you there tomorrow. Anybody who's going to attend the partner session, thanks, Christina. Thanks, Roy. Thanks, Victoria. Thank you, everyone, for all of your time. We are so grateful.